So in the garden, I've had some wins and some losses. A lot of losses. I don't really know what I'm doing, to be honest. I kind of just one day picked up a pack of seeds and decided to grow a couple plants. The first thing I ever grew, never had a house plant, never had any plants outside, never really took care of my yard or lawn, or never had bushes or shrubs, never gave any thought to it. So only been doing this for a few years, kind of new to it. Spend a lot of time watching on YouTube, looking around online. I see some stuff, come try it. Some things worked, some things didn't. One of the things that I realized is that not everything you see online is true. Or it might be true, but it might be true for one person and not the other. I'm out here in Central Florida. It's end of spring. It's absolutely sweltering. It has been for months and months already. I mean, we had an okay winter. It was pretty nice, but it's been just dreadful for months now. I'm so tired of it. But you hear a lot of people talk online about summer crops and winter crops and heat-loving crops and full sun, and that might be true, might not. It took me a while to figure that out. You go to the store, you're walking around Walmart, Home Depot, Lowe's, wherever, and you grab the seed pack, and it says full sun, warm weather. Sow it, so it's ready in summer. So it's growing in summer. It wants full sun. It's like, okay, cool. Well, my backyard, I got full sun. I got full sun from the time sun rises to the time sun sets. Great, awesome, no problem. This should be easy. And it's hot. I'm in Florida. We have a growing season. It's gonna be 90 plus degrees every single day for 8 or 9 months. A lot of days are going to be 100 plus. It's going to be 85 degrees at night for 4, 5, 6 months of the year. This should be a piece of cake to grow these. I'm just going to plant this pepper. I'm just going to put this eggplant. I'm just going to put this tomato. Any of these heat-loving summer crops just out in the middle of my yard. And package says they should do great. Not the case. Not always. Doesn't work like that. They are probably talking about another climate. Then I heard about the zones. Used to be zone 9B. Now I think I'm 10A. I think they just updated it last year. Yeah, I started looking a lot into that and doing a lot of research, figuring stuff on that. Again, good info, doesn't tell you a whole lot. It tells you about how cold you get in the winter, but there's a lot more to it than that. We might be zone 10 here in Central Florida, but it's also zone 10 in, I think, Southern California. Very different climates. Very, very different. You could watch those YouTubers and they grow some awesome stuff. Their gardens look great. And there are people that have gardens that look great here too. But they're very different. Very different climates, very different methods, and very different outcomes. And you have to realize that. It took me a while. I would go online and I would see people, up north, people out in Ohio, Connecticut, people up in the Northwest, out in the plains, out in California, people out in Europe, and they'd be growing these gardens and they'd be out in their greenhouse growing seeds, growing these little seedlings, just to get it as hot as possible. That would not work here. That just wouldn't work here. I mean, you could have, I've never grown in a greenhouse, but that'd be rough. It's already 100 and something degrees out here today. It's humid, it is nasty. I mean, if I could just show you the leaves on this gigantic, who knows what that started growing. I mean, this thing's got all the water that it needs. And just being out here, I mean, this thing's from all the way over there to all the way back there. This thing's probably 60 feet across on just 2 of these side shoots. And it is just droopy every day. It does not it grows, but middle of the day it is not happy. So you see these people that grow in these methods, and it might not be applicable to what you're trying to do. So you have to realize that. One of the other biggest things that that I want to talk about, that I'm making this video for, is soil. So whenever I first started, I kind of bought a pack of seeds on a whim. It was some tomato seeds at Walmart. I was just going to Walmart, just grocery shopping, and just strolling around the store to kill time. Saw the seeds, bought them, and a tiny little bag of dirt, and I threw it in a bucket I had. Sure. At that point, I hadn't looked up anything. I didn't know. All I know is, yeah, they say this is garden soil or whatever. I didn't know there's any difference of any of it. So I just bought the bag of stuff next to it and put the seed in it, and it was fine. The difference is, well, let me say this. So when I first started growing, I did a couple containers, and that was fine. Then I wanted to grow a couple plants in the ground. When I dug down to the ground, I was horrified to see that it was basically just sand. I live about a mile and a half, maybe 2 miles from the Gulf. So the water is right over that way. And yeah, it's basically, if you dig down 6 inches, it's 90% sand. That's pretty much all it is. And I thought that was the worst thing ever after I did some research online. Looking around, everybody was adding endless organic matter. You see the gardens online, and everybody's growing in, basically it's just jet black decomposed organic matter, just like pure leaf mold with like manure mixed in there, just the fluffiest, blackest, pure, it's the black gold. And I just said, you know what, you can't grow anything out here. This yard, it's just sand. The water just kind of flows right through it. This sucks. So I tried growing in the ground and didn't know a lot about what I was doing then, even compared to now. Hard to believe, I know. And actually had some decent luck. Things actually kind of grew decently well. Oh, hello, bee. But what changed me from growing in the ground, at that point, after I grew a couple areas, I grew a tiny little garden that was, a few feet by a few feet in the ground. And then I basically turned my whole backyard into a garden. I just kind of took the dive and just ripped up all the grass and just, gave it one good till, and then kind of just went to town. I brought in a bunch of compost. I brought in like a couple truckloads of compost just to try to get something in there. And then I tilled that in. And it looked okay, I thought. Planted some stuff, grew some stuff. But then after a couple months, it was gone. It was just gone. It was like somebody came and stole it out of the ground, grain by grain. I don't know what happened. But you come out after a week and look at it, and there'd just be less of it. It would just, all this black compost that I bought and brought in, it was just little by little disappearing. And after about 6 months, 8 months, like I never put it there. I put down probably 3 cubic yards in an area that's, I don't know, 40 by 20, maybe 2 cubic yards, who knows, but pretty good amount to be out here shoveling by hand and spreading, and it just disappeared. So I wasn't happy with that. So tried a couple things, and I thought, you know what, I could grow better if I just do raised beds. That way it'll hold more organic matter. I don't have that rich black soil, and I can't get it. It seems like the amount of compost I would need to bring in is just too much. It would be a full-time job bringing compost in order to do that. There's actually a guy down the street who, there's a bunch of his videos on YouTube. Jim, he's on that Pete, what is it, like, or Green Dreams, something like that. So that guy Jim that grows, he's not too far away up the road, and he is always bringing that city compost in. Now I've brought that stuff in too, they've delivered it here, but he's out there, that guy's a machine delivering that stuff in and shoveling it out there. He is, I used to work over there, and he just, every day he's out there shoveling compost, and to his credit, it's beautiful. His garden is beautiful and it is productive, and he figured it out. He knows what he's doing. Whatever he's doing, it's working. So he's got it going on. So maybe one day I could figure it out like that. But one thing that I have now is that I have all these raised beds. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 raised beds, and one kind of like in-ground-ish bed, and then some containers. And what I did, well, here's our spring showers coming. I pretty much filled them up with compost. You know, some of the taller beds, I put some like logs and just kind of organic junk in the bottom to fill up space, palm fronds, just crap. Then I just bought bulk compost to fill them, because the bulk compost is crazy cheap. It's like almost free, it's so cheap from a place up the road. So I filled them all up and then planted, grew a bunch of stuff grew pretty good actually, and then the bed started to sink. I have one bed, my tallest bed, it's 2 feet tall. After about 6 months, 4 months, 6 months, the bed was below half. It just completely compacted, completely broke down. The regular watering, the rainfall, and just the organic matter in there breaking down, the stuff at the bottom breaking down. It went from that deep to that deep. There was just nothing left. And the beds that were 1 foot tall, they went to about half full too. So every bed lost about half of its volume. And then when I saw that, I just thought, I'm in no better shape than I was. Like, I specifically built these raised beds because I didn't want to bring so much organic matter in all the time. And it just seems like this is going to be a nightmare. And now it's the same issue. Sure, it's in raised beds. Now it's just harder to get a wheelbarrow in here, to be honest. So kind of have the same problem. And that's kind of just what I've been doing. I never really had a good solution for it. So I've just been bringing compost in the beds and keeping them kind of topped off. Every now and again I go get some compost, or if I don't need that much, I might just run up to the big box store, buy a couple bags of this or that, whatever is just the cheapest stuff they got, and throw them in. I've been making my own compost. It takes a lot of stuff to make compost. And yeah, it's you need so much material, and it doesn't create much, so harder than you think. So been doing that, been filling some of my beds with that. That's how this gigantic plant came. I actually just dropped a seed. Oh, it's hot out here. So looking around, I see a lot of questionable things. I've had a lot of questions. I've noticed a lot of things too about people that grow for a living versus what I see online. And I see a lot of these like market gardens online and small backyard farms and everything that look awesome. But then I see like giant production, like farms, and you look at those, like, I mean, there's not really any around here that I know of. Like, it's just urban sprawl in every direction here, so there's not anything like that around here that I know of. But just you go around on like Google Maps and like drop the little yellow street view guy, and in the like areas of the country where a lot of stuff's growing, they don't have that good soil. They don't have that jet blow. I guess they do, it's just not what we've been told it is. There's an area here in Florida that's very productive. It's called the hell is it, like the Bellevue, whatever it is. I forget, Bell something. Like, yeah, I forget. I can figure it. I'll put it in the comments if I can remember. It's a area. It goes from. It's in Central Florida. It's a strip of land. It goes up from maybe Frostproof in Central Florida. It's a very narrow strip of land up the dead center. It's like an ass crack of Florida. And you'll notice it's a very light colored area of basically pure sand. Florida is very sandy. We're basically just a big sandbar as is, but this area is in particular very sandy. It's very important. I learned after seeing this thing on satellite view and ChatGPTing it to figure out what it was. It's so sandy that that's actually how the Florida aquifer is filled. But I also noticed, kind of unrelated looking at it, that there are a lot of farms on this specific strip. And there are a lot of farms in Central Florida regardless, but specifically on this little narrow strip, it's about 100 miles north to south and about 5 to 7 miles wide east to west. A lot of farms, a lot of citrus, a lot of things like that. I think probably mostly citrus. And you drop the little street view guy on and you look at the ground and it's sand. It's like you're at the beach, just pure sand. And you think, like, why would they be growing like that? Nobody wants to. You need that rich black soil. Apparently not. I don't know. I think they know what they're doing. You look over in California. I looked up what is like the most productive, like most agriculturally productive county in America. And by weight, it is Fresno County in California. You go look around Fresno County and drop the little street guy around. They have very sandy soil. So I tried to grow a citrus tree one time in a pot, and I just figured, oh, I'm gonna grow this thing so fast. I bought some very rich black potting soil and it died. Didn't last. It made it a month and a half maybe, and it was dead as a doornail, and I just couldn't figure out what happened. We're Florida, this should be easy. So that sort of brings me to what I wanted to talk about, was this guy I found just by pure chance. I wasn't even looking any of this up, but I found this guy on YouTube, Gary's Best Gardening. Gary Matsuoka, I think his name is, who I was at work just listening to my earbuds in, just looking for like long format things that I could just listen to kind of take my mind off work about gardening and growing in soil. And I started listening to this guy's long format talks he gives, and very, very different ideas from what you hear from most people. The ideas that he talks about is that you don't want this organic matter, that you want it mostly mineral. You want a lot of very fine crushed stone, whether it's sand or granite or quartz. You want very low organic matter. It's just 1%, which seems incredibly low, but yeah, I don't know. Guy's been doing it, and whenever I look at all these farms, it seems to be kind of the way it is, and it seems like they're doing it. If it made sense to just drop in tons of compost on these fields, I'm sure they would do it. I would think. I'm sweating like a pig out here. So yeah, it's a lot of that. I've always kind of noticed that the ground where these people grow, it kind of seems like it's a lighter color, it's sandier, it's lower in organic matter, and it grows great. And after listening to all of his stuff that he talks about, his contention is that oxygen to the roots is just as important as water and nutrients. That we think about we need compost in our soil to feed our plants. That's fundamentally wrong. Just that's not how it works. The soil is meant to hold the plant. It's like the home for the plant. We need compost essentially to be on the very surface. The water will filter through that and bring nutrients down to the roots. But then the roots are going to be in the soil, which is going to be mostly mineral and organic free, and it's going to hold some moisture, but it's mostly going to breathe. They're going to have oxygen. The roots are going to spread easily through this soft sand, the soft inorganic material, and they're going to have good airflow and oxygen. He also talks about how starting in maybe the 80s, that's when they started talking about overwatering plants, and I would always hear that, overwatering plants. It's like, I don't know, like I kind of see that, like if I water a plant too much, the leaves do turn yellow, it does do bad. Like, I don't know, it seems like too much water. But then again, like here in this area, you drive around and there's huge swamps full of cypress trees that are 80 feet tall, and they live their whole life submerged in water. Those roots don't rot. What about those? What about lily pads? Those are fine. What about the fact that all the oceans and lakes are full of plants where the entire plant is underwater? There's no part of it that's above water. Why don't those rot? If water rots roots, why doesn't that happen? So it kind of makes sense. And I've even grown stuff here when I was first starting, before I had a whole lot of room I dedicated in my yard. I tried the Kratky method of hydroponics, where you just use like a plastic tub, and I grew some plants just in water. You put the nutrients in it under a light and it just grows in water. Like the roots are just completely submerged in water, but they also get air, and the roots do great. Like right now I have a celery that I'm growing on my like windowsill in my kitchen. I need to plant it, but the roots are like the size of a red Solo cup, and it's lived its whole life in water. Those haven't rotted. It doesn't really make any sense. The things that rot are the things that are dead, and the things that are dead are living things that don't have oxygen. That's kind of what I've noticed. So that's what he said, and that's kind of what I've noticed to be true. It's not that the water kills the roots, it's the fact that this high organic matter soil, as people call it, is not letting it breathe. We have circulatory system. My foot can't breathe. I breathe in through my mouth and nose into my lungs, and then I have a circulatory system that brings oxygenated blood everywhere. Plants don't have it to that extent. They need oxygen through all parts of their plant, through the roots, the stem, the leaves, everywhere. And whenever you use this, this ultra high organic matter, essentially what is pretty much mulch that everybody grows in now, including myself, looking at my beds, kind of digging some dirt up after seeing what he said. It's essentially mulch that I'm growing in. This doesn't make sense. And what compounds it even worse is that it's using oxygen as it breaks down. So if you've ever grabbed any of those bags of potting mix or garden soil or whatever from any of the stores, even on a cool day, you grab those bags and you open them and they're hot. And I always wonder, it's like, wow, it's kind of weird. Like, I wonder why they're so hot. It's not hot out. Like, I don't know, this is soil. This isn't like it says it's, there's finished compost in here. The compost shouldn't be generating heat. This is strange. That's not. It's decomposing. It's actively decomposing because it's fresh. It's not aged. It's not complete. It's not compost. It's not soil. It is like shredded trees, pretty much. And they don't even hide that. They just want everybody to think that it's normal to grow in that, and that's not what plants want to grow in. When you look at any of the bags, they pretty much say, like aged forestry products and arbor fines, things like that. And these are essentially just byproducts of the logging industry. This is any type of wood that they can't use for any other productive means, just gets shredded up, and you know, it sits in the pile. They water it for a little bit, mix it with some fertilizer, and then, you know, 3 months later, 4 months later, it's aged enough. It's dark. It looks like soil, kind of like the municipal, like city compost that I was talking about earlier here. It's you see the one pile where it's all fresh tree trimmings and fresh bushes and tree limbs. One pile, then they shred it, dump in another pile, and then they just water it and turn it. It's just shredded wood. It's really nothing else. And I'm sure the middle of this pile has been sitting there for 15 years, and it's probably very, very fine, but that's not soil. That's just completely decomposed wood. So that's sort of Gary's contention, is that it's this whole issue of no oxygen to the roots with this organic matter that eventually, after 5-6 months, especially after a year, it just compacts and it just sort of continues to decompose and turn to sludge. And while it's doing that, it's using oxygen to break down. So not only does it not allow oxygen in, it uses the available oxygen. So your compost, your soil, is kind of in a battle with your plant for the available oxygen in the ground. So he talks about a lot of stuff like using decomposed granite, adding a lot of sand, adding some perlite if possible, adding a lot of these minerals. He has a mix. I've never seen it. I don't think we could even get it over here. If you could, it would be unbelievably expensive to ship it. So that isn't ever going to happen. But I think I'm going to try to make some amount. I've already bought like some bagged sand, some like just general purpose sand, like quickgrete sand, like construction sand. I've bought some fine pine bark fines. Supposedly could add a little bit of aeration and texture to the soil, but still not really break down. They're going to stick together in the soil for a while. I also I'm going to try to find some pumice, maybe. I think that might be a good idea. I also want to get some big thing of peat moss. Also saw that some people are using peat moss and sand, and like just a lot of sand, and using that. So I actually have a pepper plant I bought from the store, and I mixed some of my native sandy soil. Like here's some right here. This is my native soil. It's very sandy. This is what we have. Even if you dig down a little bit more, this is the cool soil underneath. It's just sand. So I mixed this with a lot of that sand that I bought. So I mixed like half and half pure sand with half and half this native, very sandy soil. I put it in a little 5-gallon grow bag. I put a little bit of the Osmocote plus fertilizer in it. Never tried that. He talks highly of that as well. It's a little expensive, but I figured I'd give it a shot. It's the slow release, very controlled, since it's essentially a sterile potting mix with no nutrition. So you need to have some nutrition in there in a container like that, since there's not going to be no natural leaves falling. It's not going to be a natural life cycle happening here, so it's going to be artificial. That's just kind of the way it is when you grow in a container. But I'm going to try the Osmocote, and I'm going to try it. I've got a few other plants over here in containers that I'm trying to add some more sand, some more this other more mineral, this other more coarse material, to see how it grows. So I'm pretty excited to see how it goes. I'm going to try it. My beds for the last year have been going downhill. I've been adding more and more compost, and they've just been doing worse and worse, to be honest with you. Right now I have like a banana tree that's doing good and popping off, some okra that's doing good, a basil that's doing pretty good. I mean, it's kind of not doing as great anymore now that it's sweltering, but other than that, basically everything else is, and some cowpeas that just sprouted. I mean, they'll grow in anything. I mean, I forgot a packet of cowpeas on the ground once, and they sprouted just from like humidity. They sprouted and grew through the pack. So I mean, those will grow no matter what. You look at them wrong and they sprout and grow and produce. But yeah, I mean, everything else is just producing. All the beds have been producing worse and worse and worse and worse every time I grow in them. And what I've been seeing here ever since I've listened to maybe 6, 7, 8 of Gary's like full-length lectures about soil and gardening and potting mix and how that works, everything I've been seeing kind of has checked out with that. So I know that whatever I'm doing here isn't working as well as I'd hoped, and I'm certainly not going to continue doing the same thing since it really isn't working. Definitely found it's easier to garden whenever, you know, it's 65, 70 degrees in January and everything will grow pretty well. But this time of year, it's hard and things aren't going great. So I'm going to try something new. This seems to make sense. It seems to check all the boxes and kind of answer all the questions that I've had, even some questions that I didn't know I had, things that I just had in the back of my head that I noticed, but I didn't know that I noticed until he brought them up and explained the issue that I didn't know, that I knew was going on, but I didn't know was going on at the same time. So it makes a lot of sense to me. So I'm gonna give it a try. I'm gonna try a lot more mineral in my soil. One of my beds, I already put 1 bag of sand in there. I'm gonna see if I could find some other material at any of the stores to add into the beds to try to increase aeration. That's gonna be the name of the game here. I'm gonna try to add aeration to the beds, add mineral content and aeration, and hopefully we could have some better harvest here. So that's what I've been thinking about. A lot of stuff's different here. Still been working at it. Haven't posted any videos in forever. A lot of stuff going on, but that's what I'm gonna do. So hope this helps. Good luck.